Hello, hello, my friends. Let's see. There we go. All synced up there. I am so delighted, as always, to be back for another episode of Elements of Success. Again, I am Safriana Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide. And today we are talking about the spark of intention. So, just in case you don't know me, as I said, I'm Safriana. I am a transformational mentor, trauma therapist, author, speaker, CEO, and I love to teach. I was a public school teacher for years before I went into the therapy world. So, it is such a pleasure to reignite my love of teaching through this program. And today, as I said, we're getting into the spark of intention. But before we do that, I just want to gently reorient to where we came from because today we're actually kicking off our first segment in the fire series. So we have been following along with my seasons framework, along with the elements. Our magical elements: earth, air, fire, water, ether, shadow, light. And today we are entering officially the fire arc. So, as we wrapped up the air section and talked about our boundaries and our energy, that was really necessary to begin to give you a real lived, breathed, embodied sense of where you're giving away your energy so that you can begin to very intentionally choose where you're going to put your energy moving forward. So, what boundary did you choose to focus on in these past few weeks? Maybe you were looking at your relationship with technology. Maybe you were looking at boundaries in a relationship. Maybe you were looking at boundaries with your work life balance. Whatever it might be, or if you're still tiptoeing towards your boundaries, that is a-okay. But really starting to focus on, brainstorm, contemplate how you can be in better relationship with these things. And then, what did you notice, or what are you noticing about your energy levels when you honor or ignore your limits? So, I am literally in the middle of moving right now. I'm getting the house ready to be put up on the market, and we're having to deep clean. And as I've shared before, I have fibromyalgia. So I have chronic pain and fatigue that I'm consistently trying to be in better relationship with. And so I have to really tune in and notice where my limits are, because if I ignore them, I am down and out for weeks and weeks sometimes. So it's so important for any of us who might experience some form of invisible illness or chronic condition or have a health flare going on, about how that really impacts our energy levels. And we might not be at our normal capacity to be able to take things on, and that's okay. But we have to notice these things. We really need to have that awareness to notice as we ebb and flow in and out of various limits. So the big deal this week is that now that we're beginning to master our energy and protecting our energy and having boundaries around our energy, we can actually start to direct it towards what truly matters. And that's what we're getting into with our fire arc here. So, boundaries are really the foundation for our fire energy. Good morning. Good to see you, Amy and or Nancy. Setting boundaries is recognizing that our energy is sacred. It deserves our protection, that we have the right to prioritize our well-being, that we cannot give from an empty cup, and that our fire needs fuel to burn sustainably. So all of this is building into where we're going next, which is okay, we have our energy in our body, we're protecting our energy with our boundaries. Now, what do we do with that energy? Right? When we get a sudden surge of energy, we're excited to use it. We're excited to do something. I really don't think any human being wants to do nothing. But the problem is we have so much to do and such weak boundaries on the whole that we often have none of our authentic energy left to do what we want to do. And so that is what we are moving towards. Your boundaries create the container, your intention creates the direction. So your boundaries create the container to hold your energy, your intention creates the direction in which you use that energy. And when you protect your energy, you can direct it with intention towards what truly matters to you, whether that be writing a book, running a community, parenting. It does not matter. It's what you want to do and having your energy to do what you want to do. And, when we were talking about this shift from air into fire, air really taught us to be consciously aware of where our energy goes and how we spend our time and our effort, our protection through healthy boundaries, pausing before we automatically react, and managing sort of our mental and emotional load, all of those energy leaks. Fire element is going to teach us how to channel our protected energy through our intention and through purposeful action. I call them aligned actions. And the difference between motivation and willpower, moving from scattered energy to focused intentions, and our fire as spirit. It's our power to will things into being, right? So you have your mental faculties, you have your emotional and your physical, and then you have your spiritual. And the spiritual is really where that spark of your soul and your intention comes through so that you can will things into being. So you need a healthy fire and a healthy relationship with fire. The problem that many of us have is that we're waiting for motivation. And I will never forget, I read a book. Uh, I'm going to forget all of the names and stuff right now. I believe his name's Steve Camp. And he wrote a book on nerd fitness. And I'm a super nerd. If you have not gotten to know me personally, I'm super into like Dungeons and Dragons and anime and comics, you name it, like all the things we associate with nerds, I love. So he wrote a book about fitness for nerds to try and gamify fitness. And he wrote about motivation and how motivation is like a friend who bails on you at the last moment. And that has never escaped me since then. Because truly, motivation is kind of a myth. I've gone on to write about this in some articles and stuff because I just really think it's such an important topic. So, the problem with motivation is it's like that friend that bails on you the last second. It comes and it goes unpredictably. It creates dependency on some external force slash internal force. You're waiting for some force to come through before you can make your decisions, and it leaves you waiting to feel like it. You're waiting to feel like you have the motivation to do something. Guilty, right? I bet all of us are probably pretty guilty of this. I'm inviting you to set intentions instead. And I know I've had some great conversations of people saying, I don't really like intentions because we don't do anything with them. We like set the intention and then that's it. And another super nerd fact about me, I'm super into music. And one of my favorite bands, 21 Pilots, just released their last album in this story arc they've been telling through music for over 10 years now. And the last song on the album is called Intentions. And intentions mean everything, and intentions lack memory are two of the lyrics in it. And that is so true. So, an intention helps us in this point in time orient where we want to go, what we want to do, how we want to focus our energy. And then it kind of poof, off it goes, kind of like motivation. But the intention is the point in which you say, I'm going to use my willpower to do this thing. And so we need to not just set intentions, we need to then will them. I will do something with that intention to make the energy move forward. But if you're waiting for that motivation, again, you're going to be there a long time. So we can start to create bite sized intentions to move us through because it's always available to us. It's based on our willpower, our spirit. It creates self determined action and it removes that dependency from feeling motivated. If it's like, I mean, another example, me writing my novels. If I waited to feel motivated to write my novel, I would never write my novel. I set aside the time and I say, my intention is to work on my novel for these 3 days that I have scheduled and put aside for this next month. My intention is to set aside the time to write my novel. I will set aside the time to write my novel, right? See how that shifts instead of, oh, I'm waiting to be motivated to write my novel. It's that friend that abandons, it bails last second. So, what is intention? Let's talk about this a little bit more. Oh, yay. I'm glad both Amy and Nancy are here. There's two definitions of intention, and I really love this. The first normal, regular, everyday definition we know is the aim or plan, something you intend to do. But in medical terms, an intention is the healing process of a wound. Take that in for a moment. An intention is the healing process of a wound. What if we viewed our intentions as helping us heal from past inaction? I think this is mind blowing stuff because most of us are disappointed. We feel like we have failed to show up for ourselves in the past. We feel like we have not done what we wanted to do for ourselves, often because we were boundaryless and hemorrhaging our energy everywhere, doing things on behalf of others or showing up in the way that we think we should. But in an intention, if we have a self aligned attention, I'm going to focus on the projects that light me up. I intend to focus on the projects that light me up. Okay. I will set aside the time to work on this project, this project, this project. I will. And then I go take action. That's helping me heal from past inaction. That's helping me heal from all the times I didn't show up for myself when I actually follow through. So, this is the key. And this is something that we didn't talk about in the boundaries section, but it's really important, though I might have mentioned it, which is we have to kind of know we're going to show up for ourselves and that we're going to hold the boundary. It's the same thing with intentions. It's very, I don't know, modern new age yoga practice to say, like, let's set an intention together. But we need the follow through. We need to wrap that intention back up into our action. So, again, intention is rooted in our mindfulness. So we are aware and present to what we want to create. It involves self awareness. So, really knowing what's in our control, having vision, seeing ourselves achieving what we intend, knowing it's possible for us. And again, that willpower, our fire or our spirit that drives our action forward. And our intentions need to be in our control. If my intention is to get so and so to apologize to me, good luck. Right? I can say, I will share my feelings with so and so, but I can't make them apologize. So that's part of that knowing what's actually in your control. What are you asking for from others versus what can you do for yourself? And how does that layer into your intentions? So your values fuel your fire. And your authenticity, your authentic flame within burns from your core values, not what you think you should value, but what you actually value. So I really want to caveat with that. If you are living your life boundaryless by what everyone else wants, by what everyone else thinks you should be doing, how they think you should be spending your time, you're probably going to feel burnt out. You're probably going to feel depleted. You're probably going to feel pretty darn unhappy with your life. If you are building your life on a foundation of your values, you kind of can't be the same level of miserable. And I say that as somebody who built a six-figure plus practice, was very successful by societal metrics, had the money, had the vacations, was able to buy my own car, like all of the metrics of living the American dream that we're supposed to value based on societal narratives. But I was deeply burnt out. I was so miserable. I did not like the hustle and grind constantly. And now, though my income looks different and is going back up towards those six figures now that I've removed the burnout and I'm building on values, I'm living sustainably. I'm living with the land. I feel free in my schedule. I can create as much as I want to. So I'm living in my values. So even though by societal standards, I might not be as successful right now, I feel more soul aligned success, which is really what this is about. It's about you finding your definition of success. So think about this. Some examples of values, and I do know we have a little bit of a journaling invitation, so feel free to grab a pen and a notebook here. But if you want to jot down any core values that come to mind, freedom, justice, creativity, connection, growth, impact, I could list you off 100. I could list you off 1,000 probably. But our values are these sort of key words, these cornerstones of what we're seeking in life. Maybe we're seeking freedom. We want to be completely energized by our own autonomy, our flexibility, and how we can be self-led and self-directed. Maybe our core value is connection and we're really motivated by being in relationship with others and finding our community and having that sense of belonging. There's no right or wrong, but you need to know what your values are so you know where your fuel source comes from. And when your intentions align with your values, you create sustainable willpower. I was recently in a workshop with Kari Hurd, and I we were doing some intention and mantra setting type stuff and wheel of the year and values work, and it was very lovely. And I had this channel come in of, if we take our values, let me actually switch my camera here. If we take our values, so I have health, wealth, and impact as the three values I was looking at for this month. And then I actually, oh, no, sorry. These were the domains: health, wealth, and impact. My values: freedom, impact, magic, stability. It's funny that impact and impact are the same here. Um, but then I set a goal and I wrote a mantra and I had a tangible. So, for example, health: I am free to move my body. It was my affirmation. And my goal is I stretch 3 times at least a week. So you can really play. There's so many ways you can play with this, but write down your values and actually explore what they mean to you, because they're immensely powerful. And we've been talking about this desire, commitment, discomfort spectrum throughout the series. And what I want to bring this back in is, if you're in desire and possibility and excitement, you probably have that spark, that little flame starting to grow. You might even have a, big inferno of excitement come in. Whereas that discomfort is that burnout, like the flame is dim and you're just not feeling it. Commitment is slow, steady fire burning. Your willpower can go where you want it to go. You have sustained energy. That's the sweet spot. Most of us try to get stuck or end up getting stuck in desire, which is all spark, no follow through, or all struggle, no inspiration. We really want desire to meet discipline through intention, AKA those aligned actions. So, what actually ignites you? It's a big question. Your authentic fire is not what you think should motivate you. It's not what motivates other people. It's not what society says important, and it's not what your family expects from you. These are all things that we think may be indicators of what should ignite us, what should get us excited, what we should be doing, but that's not true. Your authentic fire is what you lose track of time doing, what you would do even if no one paid you to do it, what problems you naturally want to solve, and what lights you up so much that others can feel your energy shift. Again and again and again, I hear in conversations with people that when I talk about my author career, I get really excited. My whole energy shifts. I start to smile more. I come up more. I move my arms more. Like, a lot more energy begins to pour through me, because my author career is hands down number one on my joy list. Being a writer is what really ignites me. On the flip side, I was told from the time I was a small child that being a writer would get me nowhere and that I needed a backup job and I needed to do all these things, and I really shouldn't pursue the writing thing very seriously. So I literally had people throw water on my fire until I was able to find that again, get that spark lit, find the intention, set the intention to write the book, write the damn book, publish the damn book, keep going, right? It takes time sometimes to build our fire back up, but it's never going to be built back up by us doing what we think we should do, because that continues that depletion, that burnout, that dissatisfaction and discomfort cycle. So we want you to tune into what makes your energy get big. So let's just talk about the spark versus the flame. The spark is momentary inspiration and fleeting excitement. It gets you started, but it burns out quickly. And it might be based on external motivation or pressure. It can create very inconsistent action. It can create action, but it's usually inconsistent action. However, the spark can be used intentionally. So let's say I'm hanging out with friends, we're chatting, and all of a sudden I have this idea for a short story come in. I can let that completely go, ignore the spark, let it die. No action is created. I can go, oh my gosh, okay, momentary excitement. This is a really good idea. Hey, friends, 1 second. I want to text myself this idea I have. Um, and I'm setting the intention. I'm going to come back to this tomorrow. So I'm sending myself this in an email so I can look at it tomorrow. I will look at this tomorrow. That's taking the spark, setting an intention with it, and moving towards hopefully it being a flame that can begin to sustain and have that consistent action move towards it. So, the intention, the spark, the initial idea, the inspiration, I'm not naysaying that. I'm saying it's only one part, and it's not the part that carries through the action. The action is carried through your willpower. It's carried from you burning this soul fire within you and allowing yourself to take the actions. So, again, your flame is going to burn from your core values, from your purpose. It's self renewing when we actually tend it properly, taking care of ourselves. And it creates transformative power over time. So, just like I can look back and I can say, oh, wow, I'm now at 4 solo books published. Uh, that's tremendous progress, right? And I can see that that flame, that initial spark of like, I really want to be an author. I set the intention, I did the work. Now I can look back and see, wow, my fuel has fueled 4 books. How amazing is that? So it's also in looking back and seeing where you've come from. All of this is important to sustaining this aligned action taking. So, how do you know when you're on the right track? Well, you are healthy and your spirit or your fire is bright when you're taking aligned and powerful actions. When you're actually stepping out and doing the things that you want to do with your energy, you know that you're on the right track. So your action feels aligned and energizing, even if it's challenging, right? Like editing a book, the final process of editing is grueling. Oh my gosh, it's not fun. It's challenging, but it feels so aligned to me and even energizing. Like I feel so good on the other side of it. So, what do you feel aligned and energized doing? You know your fire is burning healthy and bright when you can sustain your effort and you don't feel constantly depleted doing what you're doing. Obstacles can become creative challenges rather than reasons to quit. You feel connected to something that's larger than yourself. That's really big. Like that sense of the spiritual connection. Our fire is our spiritual connective energy. So feeling like, wow, this is what I'm doing has an impact beyond just me, the person. It has an impact in my family system, my community, the world, whatever it might be. But that feeling of connection shows you you are on the right track. And your work or how you're showing up in the world feels like an expression of who you are. You don't feel like you're masking or shoving down pieces of yourself. You feel like you're vibrant and alive and able to do what's yours to do. And the real key is you have energy left over for relationships and for rest. I know it seems crazy to have the words together, energy left over for rest, but I know so many people who are so depleted that they're kind of stuck in this doom loop of doing, even though they have no energy and they never build the energy back in because they don't feel like they have the energy to put towards taking care of themselves and resting. So if you're there, you're not alone. And it's so essential that you begin to tenderly take care of yourself so that you have energy to spend on things that get you back more energy so you can align your will and your focus and your intentions and do what you came here to do. So some signs that you are dimming your fire, aka you are burning out, right? And this I feel like burnout is truly like a spiritual signal to us. When we're feeling burnt out, it is our soul trying to cry out like, "Hey, stop and do something different." So, when the flame gets low and you're burnt out, you might notice procrastination resistance becoming more of your default state. You feel like you're going through the motions, but there's no passion behind it. Everything feels like a should instead of a I get to. You lost connection with why you started in the first place, and you are burnt out rather than burning bright. Because of this, you probably need constant external motivation to take action. And that motivation is probably coming in the form of the proverbial whip crack of capitalism, patriarchy, your boss, whatever it might be, right? The bills that you've got to pay. And that's just going to fuel more and more burnout. So we want to, again, shift back towards your values, things that light you up, your passions, the things that you would do if there was nothing else to do. Common fire blocks. So, oh my gosh, we block our own spirit all the time. We block our own self-sourced things all the time because we have fear and we have shame and we have disappointment that are running in the background. So, this is really important to talk about. Fear of failure keeping us from starting is a very real thing. I've been there, I've experienced this, and I think a lot of us are there. We just don't like, we don't even want to get started because we're afraid we're going to fail. However, and this is where I've shifted to, and I'm sure that there are some of you out there that have shifted to this too. I now fear success. Success can keep me from starting because the idea of being wildly successful still feels a little scary sometimes. So it might not be that fear of failure. You might be afraid to succeed and what that means, how that's going to change your life, right? And that's just something we need to look at these fears and really get to know them gently, compassionately. Why are they running that show? What are they afraid of? What are they hoping for? And what would need to shift in order for them to be able to take that first step and get started? Perfectionism obviously is a huge issue for people that really burns us out and blocks that authentic willpower from coming forward. Comparing, honestly, in any way, comparing your beginning to someone else's middle or end, or just comparing yourself to someone else at all. This is a huge fire dampener. When we are really in the comparison game, that means usually a lot of shame. I should be. What if I had? Blah, blah, blah. Like all these stories we tell ourselves. So we got to let go of the comparing. Our past disappointments, right? I did fail in the past. This didn't go the way that I wanted. I wanted this outcome. I didn't get that outcome. I've been trying so hard for so long. Why is this not working for me? List them out, right? Those disappointments can really uh, just crush our hopes and dreams sometimes. And so it's important to acknowledge, yeah, that was disappointing. And here's how I'm doing it different, or here's what I learned, or here's where I'm going next time. Others' opinions. So, going back to my example of really wanting to be an author, knowing that really early, and having family members and loved ones say, writing is not a career. Don't do that. It's not sustainable. So few people make it. All of their opinions and their own fears and disappointments of their, I'm sure, creative endeavors and whatnot really drowned out my own sense of self for a good while. And the good news is you can pivot there and you can embrace what's truly yours. And then a last example here, believing your desires aren't practical enough, right? And I've struggled with this too. Like, well, being an author isn't very practical because I need to sell 1,000 books a month to make my income, and I don't have that kind of audience, and blah, blah, blah. That's not very practical. So I need to do this. That does not mean we shouldn't allow ourselves to pursue those passions and dreams while they are figuring out how they can happen, right? We can have practical things to help um, cushion us. And that is really important, is to have some balance in here, allow ourselves some both and. So how do we set obtainable intentions? We've been talking about, all of these things in tension, but how do we actually set them? And so here are my 3 tips. 1, is it in your control? Focus on only your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Your bubble, your circle. Do not try to control others' responses or outcomes. So I can focus on my own feelings about my writing career and what I'm thinking and feeling and what actions I'm taking. I can't try to control whether my mother agrees with me. So my intention is to write. I will write. Measurable. So example, feeling better is vague. Feel better by engaging in self-care 3 times per week is a little bit more clear. That's something we could actually measure. Yes, I did take care of myself. I did 3 actionable self-care activities this past week. So when we can measure it, I will write. I will write 1,000 words in the next week. Measurable. What, when, and where? This is huge. This changes the game. This is what changed and pivoted my waiting for motivation into taking the powerful intention of actually getting shit done, was writing down the what, when, and where. So create a business plan, 2 hours in home office, Tuesday morning, eliminates the uncertainty and reduces our follow through anxiety. So, for example, with my writing, I usually write in stints. I often get a cheap hotel room or Airbnb room. I set aside 3 to 4, sometimes 5 or more days, and I have it scheduled out months in advance sometimes. Write book, in hotel room, all week until the time lapses and we're done, right? Like, what are you doing? When are you doing it? Where are you doing it? It takes the guesswork out so that when you're actually ready to follow through on that intention, it's right there. And I just want to have a note here on dissipated versus concentrated energy. And I have ADHD, if you haven't figured that out. So I totally get the scattered energy. Like, it's kind of my natural state of being to have a bajillion different ideas going. I'm also a manifesting generator. That does not help. Scattered energy creates scattered results versus our focused fire can transform anything. Most people spread their energy across too many priorities and they just spread themselves too thin. So imagine what you could achieve if you had your full energy available plus your willpower and you were actually doing and concentrating on what you wanted to do. What would be possible? I bet the sky is the limit. But yeah, if you're scattered, if you're like, oh, I need to do this project over here. I need to work on this house project. I need to tend this relationship. I need to start going and I need to network. I need to do this and this and this and this and this. We only have so much energy to go around. And if you've ever heard of spoon theory, uh, you know what I'm talking about when I say spoons. If you haven't, go Google spoon theory. I often represent this with pens because I almost always have pens on my desk. So here I'm just going to grab a bunch of pens. Spoon theory asserts that we only have so many spoons in a given day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think 11 is the normal number we work with. If you have chronic illness, you already start with less spoons, in this case, pens. So if I want to take care of myself today and shower, that might be 2 of my 11 resources for the day. If I want to write that newsletter, that's going to be 4. I'm going to cook a meal. That's going to be 3. All right. I've got 2 left. Am I going to see a client with this? Am I going to do some more self-care? A walk in the yard, that's going to take 1. And making myself some nice tea and curling up with my journal, that's going to take another 1 because those are less costly for me. So what takes up a big chunk of your energy, right? You only have so much to give. And it's really important that you not overspend. That's part of the energy work we've been talking about. But again, with the scattered, if it's like, okay, networking, emails, seeing clients, building my website, like where's the taking care of ourselves, the going outside, the moving our body, the cooking a good meal? Like, we have to prioritize taking care of ourselves in here too. And focusing, like, what would happen if I focused 7 of my 11 daily resources on doing the things I actually cared about? a project that I'm working on or whatnot. So, your concentrated energy can make a huge difference. When you are scattering it to the wind, it's going to be very hard to complete what you want to complete. So, here, if you have a journal on hand, I would love for you to just jot down the first things that come to mind. If you're watching this replay, you can pause and really go through these prompts in detail. But where are you spreading your energy too thin? Where are you spreading your energy too thin? Go ahead and jot down an idea if you have it. I'm just going to give us a few moments here since we are live. But if you have that notebook again, just jot down these first observations. Glad you're here, Tom. Hope that you get some good ideas. What deserves your most concentrated effort right now? Deserves your most concentrated effort right now. And what would you stop doing if you were brutally honest about your priorities? Spreading myself too thin on client work rather than in building income in our business. Yeah. So, and this was something I went through in pivoting my own career was, I'm seeing clients 30 plus hours a week. I can't see 30 clients a week and actually have the energy to write my books. It just wasn't possible. So, if you're recognizing, yeah, I'm putting so much extra energy into this section of my life, and that's not even my big priority, why? What are you doing? Why are you convincing yourself? Because it's probably a story, a narrative. Why are you convincing yourself you're not allowed to do what you really want to do or need to do? So again, I invite you to come back to these and really journal deeply. But for these next few questions, just jot down the first words that come to mind because this is really going to be kind of a word list that is going to show you a lot. So, just the first words that come to mind. What activities make you feel most alive and energized? If you had unlimited resources, what would you create or build? What values are you unwilling to compromise on? And if you haven't sat with your values yet, that's okay. You can do a Google search. What legacy do you want your efforts to leave behind? And what would you regret not trying if you looked back in 10 years? Again, really just these quick ideas here. So for me, I wrote down what activities make me feel most alive and energized, writing and time in nature. If I had unlimited resources, what would I create or build? I would create a sanctuary for creatives. I am unwilling to compromise on my freedom and my creativity. The legacy I want my efforts to leave behind is an inspiration through my books. And I would regret if I looked back in 10 years not trying to actually finish and release a full fiction series. We're got book 1 out, so we're doing good. But this is hopefully like giving you a snapshot of where your energy actually wants to go, what you're actually inspired by, what your intentions inside your soul are really calling out for. Because these kinds of questions really invite us to think through that lens of unlimited potential for what we want to do and who we really are and what we're really here to do. And these are just Kickstarters. And we could visit this every few years and the answers could be totally different, and that's okay too. So, Connecting and creating with lasting fire. You're getting these ideas of what lights you up. You're getting these ideas of your values. You're starting to put it all together. Now we create that sustained fire by connecting our daily actions to our deeper purpose, your why. Why are you doing something? So, right, I write books. My big why is because stories connect people. Symbolism is powerful. I can inspire and shift people's perspectives simply through my words and help them create a happier, healthier way of being. So, that's my big why of why I ultimately write, is because my stories have an impact. Start small enough that you cannot possibly fail. I've probably talked about this in a prior episode, but tiny bite-sized little pieces. Something so small, you laugh at the fact that of course I can do that. Right? So for me with writing a book, if I'm really okay, I'm struggling to get started, blah blah blah. My intention might be, okay, you know what? I'm just going to open the Google Doc where I'm going to do the writing, and I'm just going to title it. Yeah, I'm just going to title it Chapter 1 Draft Book 2. Okay, well, now I'm here. That was so small, so laughably easy to do. Now I'm here. Maybe I'll write some more. When we're getting started and you're setting that intention of I will, start small as you're building this trust in yourself that you will follow through on your actions. Let your I will be so simple. I will clean the left side of my desk. I will make my bed tomorrow morning. I will like something bite sized, maybe making your bed's too big, right? But something that you know without a reasonable doubt that you can do, because that is going to build your fire up over time until you're more confident in yourself and what you can do at any given point in time. Build momentum through consistent small actions. That is building that trust. And celebrate your progress, not just your completion. So celebrate that you sat down and you worked in your business instead of trying to get another client right away. Celebrate that you were able to give yourself 3 hours in the last week to daydream about your next steps when before you would have distracted yourself with all the normal things you would do, right? Celebrate your progress, not just your completion. And remember that rest feeds your fire while burnout kills it. So please, please, please rest. I know we all struggle with that here in this modern day culture, but rest is how we are able to give from overflow. So when your flame needs tending, return to what you were originally excited about when it comes to your path, right? So if you are spreading yourself too thin in client work rather than building income, well, what originally excited you about the client work and what excited you about building your business, and how can you be excited about both at the same time, if at all? Where do you maybe need to let go? Reconnect to your deeper why and the impact you want to create. Spend time with people who are passionate about their own work so that you have that rejuvenating energy of like, we like what we do and we're doing what we're meant to do in the world. Feed your fire with new learning or inspiration. So, if you are trying to build income in your business, it's a great idea to go be inspired by other people who are building their businesses in similar or aligned ways to you, or people who are building it in completely not the way you want to. So you have that like, oh, that repelling, not for me. But how do you inspire yourself or learn more so that you can fuel that fire? I call them retreat days. And my retreat day, it's literally it starts early in the morning as I can get away with for me. I'm not an early bird. And it usually ends around dinner time. And the retreat day is a day that I've put aside to work on a specific task or to rejuvenate my passion for something. So, I recently had a website retreat day because I was redoing my whole ass website. And in the morning, I had breakfast. And then the first hour was spent looking at other people's websites that inspire me, that I'm doing similar things, that I'm doing different things, but I like the look of their website. And then there was about an hour for actually working on the website. Then I had a going outside stretch break, came back in, did another 30 minutes of work on the website, broke for lunch. After lunch, watched some YouTube videos about web design and calling in my ideal client, and then another hour or two of work on the website, and then wrapping for the day with dinner. Retreat days can be, again, retreat days can be a really good tool for focusing that willpower, feeding your fire with new learning and inspiration while you're taking action, and taking real rest and not just distraction. So layering in that time in nature or a meditation or something. Ask yourself, what would I do if I trusted myself completely? And that might be going hand in hand with those questions you were looking at earlier. What would you do if you trusted yourself completely? I mean, the answer for me is I would just write and I'd let the rest of the stuff figure itself out, right? So let's take a moment here to pause and drop into a mindful moment and connect with that inner fire within, that spark of inspiration. So, just going to invite you right here, right now. Your eyes can be opened or closed, but simply to begin to tune into the breath, taking a nice deep inhale, following it all the way to the bottom, and then letting it go. So, inhaling through the nose if you can, exhaling through the mouth. And from this moment, as you're aware of your breath, becoming aware of the energy moving through your body, that sense of the breath flowing, that sense of the heartbeat, maybe even the sense of air on your skin. And from here, looking inward, seeing if you can find the spark of your own internal flame. Noticing where that flame is in your body. Is it in your belly? Is it in your back, your heart, your head, your root? There's no right or wrong, just noticing where your inner fire seems to be emanating from. And as you breathe, as you inhale, see the flame get a little brighter, a little bigger. Notice this process of noticing, using your own willpower to focus on something within you. Whether you see it, sense it, know it, feel it, you're using your willpower, your intention to say, I will notice what's happening within me. Continuing to breathe and notice your fire. Just asking yourself the question, what do I need to allow my fire to burn even brighter? Perhaps you need more rest, inspiration, support. Maybe you need to tune into your values and walk alongside them. Maybe you need some time to journal and really reflect on what's important to you, what really lights your soul up. Maybe you need to stroll outside in nature and feel your feet on the earth and feel that deeper connection so that you can get the answers after clearing your energy out of all the technological, human distractions. Breathing and noticing your flame. And from here, Allowing there to be a spark of inspiration, a spark of intention. What are you willing to commit to? What will you do for yourself to deepen your relationship to what you really want to take aligned actions on? How do you intend to take aligned actions towards your goals, your dreams, your passions? I will. I will allow myself to do what needs to be done. I will allow myself to pursue my dreams. I will allow myself the joy of my passions. I will allow myself to be inspired by others around me. I will allow myself to be inspired by life. I will allow myself to take aligned actions on what's important to me. And take a moment in your mind's eye or in your inner knowingness to just play out a scene where you are taking an aligned action, a next best step for yourself to move towards what you want. See yourself taking that aligned action now. And let that image go and instead shift back to that inner flame, allowing it to burn even brighter. Remember, you're allowed to take care of yourself. You're allowed to do what is right for you. And if the eyes have closed in your own time and way, you can blink them open and take some moments here to look around your space. Doing a little no tiger twist here, looking up, down, and around just to see that you're safe, you're here. This inner fire is something we have to tend, my friends. We have to give ourselves the time and space to notice what our energy levels are at. And if we have the fuel for our fire to do what we're here to do, we need to be really intentional and remember our intentions because, as 21 Pilot says, intentions lack memory. Our intentions aren't holding the fort for us. We are holding the fort for them. And what I ultimately want you to remember is that your fire is needed, your willpower, your spirit is needed. You are not meant to dim your light to make others comfortable. Your authentic fire serves you and the world. When you are coming from an aligned, soul aligned, deeply nourished place, you cannot help but serve yourself and the world. And the things that ignite your spark and stoke the flame of your spirit are clues to your purpose. So listen. Give yourself the time and spaciousness to actually listen to what lights you up. It's so important and so valuable. And from here, you get to create sustainable action, moving away from motivation into intention. Your boundaries protect your energy, your intentions direct your willpower towards what matters to you. Following through is the magic. The follow through is the magic. The follow through is the magic. The follow through is the magic. I'm going to really hammer that home. You have to follow through for yourself, with yourself, or nothing happens. Stuff doesn't happen if there's no follow through. So allow yourself the magic of the follow through. Your fire or your spirit gives you the power to follow through. That's your willpower. So move with your willpower, set your intentions. You don't have to be motivated. You don't have to be motivated. You just need to be intentional and follow through. So, I know that that's, like, probably easier said than done and all. Been there, continue to be there. We're human, we're not perfect. But again, if we're waiting for that external motivation, we're gonna be waiting for a long time. So if you know something is for you, give yourself the gift of the follow through and take those aligned actions so you can look back and be happy that you took that action. So you don't regret in 10 years that you did not take that action. Again, aligned action with your values, not what other people are telling you to do. There's no one action I'm telling you to go out and take other than taking the action of setting aside some time for yourself to really sit with these things and allow them to integrate. Because if you don't, they don't integrate and you just keep doing the same thing you've always done over and over and over again. That's the follow through shift. All right. So, setting your weekly intention. Here's just a simple practice that you can kind of take with you as we wrap today. Consider if this is for you. Find a quiet space. I literally did this yesterday as I was sitting down to work on a new landing page for me and Dr. Bird's new offer. Winky, winky. But find a quiet space, take a few nice deep breaths. Call to mind what you want to focus on for the week. Maybe it's your one project. So, using the example from the chat, maybe you're trying to focus on what to do to build income in your business. So, you call that into focus and then notice what happens in your body. Is there tension? Are there energy shifts as you focus on that? If you feel afraid, if you feel tense, right? That's information that maybe there's something to work through before you try to take this action on your project or whatever it might be. Ask internally, what do I need to align with my values this week on this topic? And then create an intention statement. So it's my intention to finish the landing page. Okay. Is this in my control? Is it measurable? Can I take immediate action? Yeah, it's my intention to finish the landing page. It's in my control to finish landing page. Is it measurable? Yes, I know when it's finished. Can I take immediate action? Yeah, absolutely. Identify one thing you can do right now towards this intention and state it as a I will. So I will look at all of the income generating activities in my business. I will look at my ideas for this project and get them organized. I will go make the phone call. I will go put the post online. Get up and do that thing immediately. So, whatever you're thinking right now, the most powerful thing you can do right now is actually go take that action right here, right now, after we wrap up. So, again, this is just a simple ritual to check in with yourself, notice what's a priority, what feelings are coming up, how do you need to move back towards your values with that, what do you intend to do, what will you do, go do it. And that brings us to the end of our first episode of the Fire Arc. Next time, we're going to explore our creative fire and embodied expression because that is also an expression of our will. And so we'll be looking at creativity as a sacred life force energy, moving from thinking to creating through art, movement, and our voice, how your body wisdom guides your authentic action taking, and sexuality and creation energy as sources of personal power. And finally, some embodied practices to ignite that sustainable fire. So I can't wait to join you back here again in 2 weeks. But in the meantime, really playing both with boundaries and intention. Your boundaries are making sure you can maintain your sacred energy. Your intentions, your willpower are determining how you are going to use that energy with your follow through to take your aligned actions. So, I hope this was useful for you, my friends. As always, the best way to get in touch with me is guide@safriana.com. If you have any questions you want to submit or any topics you hope to see me cover in the remainder of this series, we are really just getting started. So we've got lots more elements to go through. We're just getting kicked off with this expressive fire element. And yeah, there's so much to explore and discuss. So if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you back here in 2 weeks, my friends. Bye for now.